Good afternoon. I'm Vince Palmieri, President of Asian Pacific Community Awareness, and we're here this afternoon with a very dear friend and a very influential woman, Margie Shepherd. Margie, good afternoon, and thank you for coming.
Hi, Vince.
I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Pleasure to see you and a pleasure to meet Daisy.
Yes. I was going to give my own little speech about you and your background, but when I found this information, I would like to read it because I think this explains you better than I could.
All right,
So
sure.
if you don't mind.
Sure.
And let me mention this. Margie was a motivational speaker, an author, a television star, a model. So she has an excellent background and an excellent businesswoman. So here we go. Meet the best speaker of 2018, Margie Shepherd. The best speaker of any year is Margie Shepherd. She electrifies audiences nationwide on her America Media Matters radio talk show. Oh, I didn't know you had that talk show. Celebrating life, bowing to standing ovations in Reno, Nevada for hundreds. She fulfilled expectations to capture that special moment in everyone's life. Achieving goal, fulfilling one's dream, renewing faith in oneself, and climbing the mountains that stand in the way of reaching our summit. And I love that statement because when I was teaching, I always told students, in life there are many obstacles. And in order to succeed, you have to decide how you go about getting around that obstacle. Mm-hmm. And I know you have a lot of experience of getting around obstacles. Beautiful and charismatic, Margie's dynamic talks vibrate with the rare gift of past filled with blockbuster obstacles. Survival from a potentially lethal home invasion of deadly carcinogenic materials that contaminated the air through a contractor's work era demanded all Margie's inner strength. That life and death experience triggers her ongoing career as one of the most exciting speakers of our time. And if you don't mind, later I would like to ask you something about that. I'm very curious. I needed to reinstate myself into the world to start again. Take a risk. Be sure you're your own hero. People will notice. As they do today, Margie memorizes her audiences. From a shout to a whisper, always on target, she zeroes in on every individual regardless of the size of her audience, a special gift to groups, large or small. Margie Shepherd talks about radiant by using the past to create the future. Whether it's military healing or returning servicemen or the tranquil beauty of Helen's Garden, pastoral settings sponsored by St. Jude's Auxiliary in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we count on Margie to invigorate and inspire us. Nominated as our Speaker of the Year 2018, she can be heralded as the ideal answer to your group's needs, destined to become a motivational star in a new cancellation. This is absolutely excellent, but as a combat veteran, mm-hmm. I need to ask you about this because I really wasn't aware that you were involved in reaching out to veterans. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yes. I actually, this is my 38th year with some form of participation to motivate active military veterans, family, wives, and so forth. I can't believe it's 38 years already.
Wow.
And this is all branches of the military within the United States of America and what we stand for. It started off very, very, very small, just in communicating with the active military of the Air Force is where I started. Mather, McClellan, and Travis in the state of California were the top three of where I started. The participating, whether they were actively doing something No, that didn't matter. Fashion shows, doing radio shows, listening to what the concerns were, both from the wives, the girlfriends, and then with the actual officers and enlisted, the things that they talk about, the things that they missed. And so one thing led to another, and then it began to be a regular time every month that I would appear. And it was just, it's always been interesting because everybody has a different perspective.
Yes.
Anywhere also from women wanting to know how to dress. How do they take care of themselves? Because in the military, the person that was the active participant, you see, focus really is on them. Are they okay? Are they safe? Whatever. And this also goes for women because there are many women involved in the military with their spouse. Some have spouses in the military, but more often than not, their spouse is at home, either with the kids or in another occupation. But those in the military, even during times of so-called peace, major concern, because in other parts of the world, it wasn't so-called peace. And our active people are often pulled in. Special ops, do you think that they publicize that information in the media? No, but our special ops and people behind the scenes are involved considerably more. And I learned that, though they're not supposed to talk about it. In fact, if you mention special ops to somebody that was in the military, that wasn't special ops, their look is to stand back because it's all hush-hush, supposedly. But it was it has been an extraordinary experience.
I'm sure about that. And as a veteran, I'm very honored to know you and overwhelmed of what you have done to reach out to the veteran community.
Well, the veteran community is special. It's special up and above other communities. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't believe that our system has taken care of our military, both active and as veterans. And they don't understand why. Well, I don't understand why either, because I've seen what they go through. I've seen the trials, the tribulations, and their children. They don't understand. What they know is that daddy or mommy is not around, and they stand to lose the communication, the connection, and for those that come back so badly injured, whether it be emotional and or physical, they can't communicate. Children don't understand this. What they know is not the same person that went away.
You're 100% right, and I agree with you. Being involved in this system, I can see a lot of the problems. But to get away from this for a moment, I'd like to know more about you and how you got from where you were to where you are.
Do you mean from when I actually started in business and then as I grew?
Yes.
Well, you see, many years ago, and it does seem like yesterday, I was diagnosed with cancer. And at that particular time, I was 20 years old. And at that particular time,
20 years old.
It was ovarian and uterine cancer. And at that time, your chemo and some of the other things were just being experimented with. And I was one of the very rare percentage of women that would make it through. But in the recovery time there, and the journey that I had to embark on, there were things that I thought about doing that kept me going. And it started my wheels turning about never letting anything get me down, no matter what it is. It might slow me down, but it won't get me down. And that's where it started. And then I thought, well, okay, because in my very young years, what I wanted to do was to walk the runways of Milan, New
Wow.
York, San Francisco, and at the caliber of, say, Christy Brinkley or Cindy Crawford. At that time, you see, if you're approaching the 30 mark and you really haven't got there, they consider you quote unquote too old. Now, that's a little different story. I mean, sizes, shapes, and whatnot are all different now. But I thought, okay, I can't do that because I'm too old already. And I think what I'll do is I'll take a look at being the best I can be from an emotional standpoint to a physical standpoint. And I entered into the world of weight loss. And I began to climb from a business standpoint in positioning. And from there, I started training people. I advanced in companies until I would go with the Nutrisystem Corporation. I spent 25 years with them in climbing the ladder and going into regions, restructuring, rebuilding, and putting some fun into it. Fashion shows, makeup seminars, men, how to dress, button your shirt right. Come on now. And we would have fun things to do. And I worked all over the United States, and quite often, or many times rather, I would be stationed. I would be stationed and based there to complete my assignment. My last assignment, though all were wonderful for me, and hopefully for the teams that I built. But my last assignment really gave me more reward, I think, than I could remember. And the group of women that I would first meet going into the Midwest, I became a part of the franchise expansion program, which would also mean going from California, West Coast, into the Midwest, and that's like the Twilight Zone. Many of these, all of the staff women there, they had never been out of Ohio and surrounding cities. They had never worn a cocktail dress, and God forbid you mention getting on an airplane. And an eyelash, well, what's that? So from a business standpoint, to a personal grooming standpoint, to having fun, introducing men to another way of dressing and treating women. And then from there, that opened the door to law enforcement, of which I became very active with, in doing the very same thing, helping women to understand, wait a minute, you've got to improve your health first, and then if you want to change anything else, your dress and whatnot, be a part of this, come on in. So it was great. But at the end, in all of the franchises, this last region was in the top 3 grossing, and made it possible for our franchise owner, and the only one, to go to the NASDAQ.
Wow.
And that record still stands in place today.
Wow, congratulations. You are definitely a role model for younger women, not only in this country, but around the world. And unfortunately, I don't think today, whether it's man or woman, that there are enough role models and people to look up to. And look up to people who still have integrity, still have morals, and find a pathway and don't let anything stop them from what they want to do. And I hope from this interview, a lot of young ladies who are looking at this, if you have a dream, don't let anybody talk you out of it.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
You see, if anybody can really be talked out of it, it's always been my belief, because I believe I had some pretty tough obstacles, to get through. And if somebody can talk you out of what is the supposed dream, you don't want that dream very bad.
I agree. You're 100% right.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes. And I believe when I taught business that failures, and I don't really like to use that word because I think failures only refer to when you're in school. You pass a test, you fail a test. But in life, I don't think you fail. You don't do something right, you make a mistake, and you look at it from a different perspective, and you try to keep doing it until you get it the right way. I know for a fact, because I met him when I lived in China, Yao Ming, he made it to basketball because of his height. He didn't have the skills that we have in the NBA. And in order for him to succeed, he had to sacrifice a lot of things to get where he was when he was in the NBA. So this is what people need to do. No matter what type of business you want to do, you need to focus on that business. And if it fails, you looked at it this way, now look at it this way, or look at it that way and see why and what changes you make. One thing I like to say is our misfortunes are the stepping stone to success.
Yes, they are.
Because if you don't look back at what you did and analyze it, you can't go forward. Just like solving a problem. If you don't know what the root cause of the problem is, how can you solve it?
Exactly.
So I don't know what else to say to you. I'm really in awe. You have done so much, and I know there's a lot I can learn from you. I'd love to stay here for 2 days and talk with you. But I'm interested in your talk show. Do you still do that talk show?
Not at this time. COVID put a real crimp into a lot of things, although I have been approached to start the talk show again. And we also, in doing the talk shows, I had the twice a month club meetings. Pardon me, where people could come and talk about their particular goals, projects, and what they wanted to do with their life. I tried to make my talk show interesting by having different variety type of guests, anywhere from a cowboy who's a best-selling author to a jet pilot to even, when we say housewife and mother. People will say, well, what kind of interest is that? Well, I got to tell you, that's not exactly something that that is a nothing. And I can honestly say, because I am a mother and a grandmother, and by far, my son, my grandchildren were it was the absolute best of anything I've ever done. Wow. And I keep on going with it today.
That is fantastic. I don't have any children. When I was married before, we decided to wait because my wife had a child from a previous marriage. But, life has different turns for us. And I've always said, no matter what you do, you have to have plan B. Because if you're driving down this road and your mind is just keep going straight, but all of a sudden the road doesn't go straight, it goes right and left. What are you going to do? You have to make a decision. And this is where I think, I'm going to tie education into this now, this is where I think our younger generation has a problem. Because they're not taught to think about things like this. And to succeed in life, you have to be prepared for ups and downs. And I think that when people fall down and they get up and they keep going, they become successful, and no matter what they're doing. What I didn't like is when our children athletes were just giving a trophy for showing up. I was very athletic when I was a child, and I don't believe in just giving somebody something because they show up.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, and I can tell you that what I'm seeing, and I don't think that those parents or those that are working necessarily with children hit the root and the core of what they should to keep the feet on the ground. 2 weeks ago, I was reviewing the number of deaths in 1 week. 32 from ages starting 16, of course, going on up. 72% were suicides because of pressure. And the younger, the 16-year-old, 17-year-olds, and going up to say 30 years old, were in a particular industry where they had to prove that they are somebody. And if they weren't doing something in that particular industry, then obviously they're not anybody. And therefore they become involved with your drug and your alcohol. All right, these are things that at home, no matter what's going on out there, and that was just in 1 week. Just 1 week. Now, parenting, to keep their feet on the ground, I do believe that there are tools and professionals that when you start seeing certain signs of something, that parenting or professionals need to get more involved so that we can stop that. So the kids, no, they don't have.
Well, that's why I'm an advocate for education and why I want to do this fundraiser, because talking to one of the teachers and to one of my board members, she was telling me that the teachers put out a lot of money from their own pocket, and there are a lot of students who are in the poverty level, and there are a lot of students that don't meet the grade level, but they're told they have to teach that grade level anyway. And I think now society is the one putting the pressure on these kids.
Society, inclusive of the system, inclusive of other areas and other occupations, promising the pie in the sky, taking away the reality of, hey, you are good enough. You are good enough, whether you're mowing the lawn or you've got a part-time job.
See, what you just said, I think, is something that within a person, they have to feel that they are good enough to do anything and willing to do it.
That's right.
I remember when I started on Wall Street in Citibank, I was a clerk. I was delivering mail in the mailroom. And then I got invited to go to the accounting department. Then I was on a management training program. And then my boss said to me, we want you to go up to the trading desk. And at first I said, you gotta be kidding me. I don't even have a degree yet. All those guys are from Harvard, Northwestern, Yale. They're wearing pinstripe suits and this and that. And at first I felt a little intimidated. But the first day that I got there, and the job I was doing was only for one person, and my boss was teaching me how to do that job. And I looked at these guys and I said to myself, you know what? They get dressed the same way I do every day.
That's right.
And then the second day, my boss said to me, Vincent, this is yours, do it. And I said to him, you're crazy. I haven't done it before. One day, he said, you can do it. Just go ahead and do it. And I spent almost 13 years at Citibank.
Well, I'm a firm believer, I really am a firm believer, that if whether you're in a positioning or something comes your way and you have an interest in it, but you don't think you can do it because you've never done it before, you go through the process to acquire the position. If you are in the position, then you figure it out. If you want it enough, you figure it out. And yes, you're going to make mistakes.
Yes.
But you go right back to the drawing board. But also, if you're superior or the teacher or your parenting, when they see that you're striving, they see you're making progress. What is needed is merely encouragement and belief in you as your superior, or the children, or the young students, or the young adults, and for that matter, anybody at any age. The belief people will have in you can become infectious within that person, and they can begin to believe themselves.
I agree with you, and I think my father was a great influence in me wanting to play sports. And I remember the first team I went to try out for, he bought me a pair of brand new spikes. And I went to try out for the team, and there are different levels. You meet this level, you go to the next level. Well, out of the 4 levels, I made it to 3. I didn't make it to the 4th level. And I remember that day, as I'm sure sitting here, I threw the spikes over my shoulder and I walked all the way home crying. And my father said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I didn't make the team." He said, "No problem. There are other teams. Go
That's
try
right.
for other teams." So what that taught me is you don't give up.
Exactly, you don't give up. In fact, when you weren't selected, let me ask you a question. When you didn't make the team, did you realize what the supposed reason was that you didn't make the team?
Yeah, I look back at that, and I didn't think that I was good enough for that particular position compared to everybody else. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't have been a good ball player. And what happened was, I was trying out for an infield position, and after that I tried out for another team, and the catcher on the team that I was trying out for got sick, and we were playing a practice game, and the coach said to me, "We want you to catch." I never caught in my life. The rest of my baseball career was as a catcher. And when I was in high school, I just missed out on being New York City all-city catcher. And I found it and I liked it, and I never wanted to do another position because I felt that that position was me.
Well, more than likely, if we, in the prior position that you were actually trying out for, more than likely it came across what you had just said, that maybe you weren't good enough for that position. But then a position opened up that you tried for, and not only did you know you could do it, you just came up shy of missing out on that award. So, again, that comes down to the belief in you that you had, and also learning that, hey, wait a minute, if I really wanted it, all I had to do was believe in it.
Right. In closing, if I can ask you, if there's a message you would like to give to everyone out there, not only the young ladies, but what would your message be to them?
Really very short. It's for men, women, students of all ages. It's real simple. Come on and board my plane of ambition, because we're going to land at your airport of success. I'm Margie Shepard, and I am thrilled to be here, Vincent. And ladies and gentlemen, believe in yourself. You can accomplish anything you want. Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you, Margie. Thank you.